I'll
How
give
would
you
you
mine.
describe it? Let's say someone just flew in from Mars and said, hey, I'm from Buffalo and I haven't followed the
I'll give
Sabres
you
the
mine.
last 5 years.
I'll give you mine.
Go ahead.
I think it was a very, very miscalculated move, the handling of Jack Eichel in the next situation. I don't know how it went down. I don't know what he wanted to do, but it was a disagreement on how it was going to be handled, and the guy left and went to Vegas where they could have maybe, and I don't know the intimate details of it, but maybe it was just like, fix your neck however you want, and we got to try to win here, so let's get you better. As opposed to, you're not doing that surgery, we're not familiar. I don't know the details of it, but if you look at that as a start, and then you can go right to goaltending, but Jack Eichel, just for Peyton Krebs and talk good players, but come on.
Yeah,
Well,
Eichel's
you know what, it's a
top
great
12, 15 player in the league.
It's a great point because we always talk about the TSN turning point. That's probably it, right? Like, regardless, we joke about Tim.
Well,
Murray
there's
or
several
whatever,
there, Jamie, but that's a key one.
That's a key one that you can put your thumb on and go, there could be organizational direction changing because Eichel doesn't want to be there, and you disagreed. Now, listen, he had a very controversial, I think it was called a neck fusion, whatever it was, right? He was second and third opinions with doctors. Vegas took give Vegas credit. They took a flyer on him. This guy could have had this surgery and it would have gone south, and they gave up some players to get him. Like, they took a flyer on him. They took his time to heal, and he ended up winning a cup for them and being a fantastic player, the player that we expected him to be. But you're right, it is organizational changing where the disagreement and he didn't want to be there. When top players don't want to be there, it trickles down through your organization.
So how does that apply to, Marner leaving, Tavares? Tree Living spoke today and
Different scenarios,
basically,
I would say.
he said Marner's basically gone. He didn't say it in those words, but like with Tavares, he just said, I'm going to stay optimistic that something happens. And
He sounded pretty similar on all the issues. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but
there wasn't-
it's going
there was a lot
one way.
of
hoping-
talking. There wasn't a lot of substance.
Yeah, it was Lou-like. It was Lou-like.
It did have that kind of feel.
The only thing I would say is in seeing a lot of these moves now, I am of the belief is we can't judge these teams until like October 1st, and it might even be further because teams might be patient, sit on cap money, wait till other teams open up for business type of thing. I think you're going to see some methodical play here. I worry about July 1st. I don't think all hell's going to break loose from like money free agent standpoint. I think we're going to see more trades and trade action.
No,
leading
you're
up to
not,
it and
Jamie.
after it.
No, you're not, because we've been promised lots of trades and crazy July 1st. I think every year I've been here.
I'm the idiot
by
doing it.
3 o'clock, we're all looking at each other, and it's like, Duthie, you got any funny jokes? Like, there's no trade's going to happen. They never do. We've never had that day that we've been promised. They owe us.
Well, right now we are. There's trades every day. They're just not the biggest trades in the world, but we have seen, and I think through the weekend we're going to see a lot more activity. People trying to free up cap space, trying to move players around, and comes back to my original comment. How many teams believe that they want to improve and get better this year, as opposed to go the other way and selling the farm?
I do think there's a game of chicken going on right now,
right?
Because Bettman and Daly in the league, I wouldn't say jammed up the GMs, but made things complicated when they announced the cap going up 3 years into the future. Something I don't recall them ever doing. So I think what is clearly taking place is, I'm sure the agents are all saying, well, I kind of want to negotiate off the cap I know is coming in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think
teams
Don
are
Waddell said today, he's like, just because we had to explain to some people, just because this a $3 million player and they're hearing this cap going up doesn't all of a sudden mean they're worth 4 now.
But exactly, and that's Waddell's stance, and I think the GM stance. But the player stance is, actually, I am worth 4 now.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to possibly complicate things, is because someone's got to win. Like one side or the other's got to win.
It's either you get 4 or you don't have a contract.
It's almost
so you
like
pick.
Is
It's
there
a game of
collusion
chicken
in the league? Are the GMs all going to look at each other and say, "Man, keep your cool here. Don't get stupid. Don't start offering some fourth line player $4 million a year, or else we're all going to get jammed."
But do you think that will this lead to maybe a guy like Marner taking a short-term deal, and saying the cap going up a lot more? Like we
possibly,
hearing
but
rumblings,
like Marner's is a different category.
You're
Like he's
right,
going to
you're
get
right.
paid. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and someone's just going to want him and say, fine, what is it, 13? Fine. Like they'll
whatever it is.
But I think it's the middle guys, that are good players. That it's like, well, I want to be paid. If I'm going to sign a 5-year deal, I want it based on like that third year. I know it's going up another
That's fair.
$16 million or whatever.
Yeah.
That's probably complicating things.
Well,
And naturally, the teams are all trying to get an edge, as they should. And that's what's happening right now.
It's a great point, but the only thing that I feel like is, and we should all understand this as fans, the top players are the ones who have to worry about the cap going up because they make the most money. What it is we call it, replacement level players that, will reset. Sometimes a guy prices himself out of the league and then you're not available. Now you got to reset. Jamie Benn at $1 million at 35 years old, going to have some bonuses, that type of stuff. You reset because you made a bunch of money or you priced yourself out. The top players are always going to get paid. But you're right. If there's a guy who's a $3 million player who thinks he's $5 because the cap's going to be up $16 million 3 years from now, that's going to throw the whole system out of whack. The managers have to be a lot smarter than that, though, and go, I'm sorry, you're a player that's a third-line guy. 3 years from now, I'll get a guy and pay him $3 million still to play your position.
And I think that's why the Tavares scenario is complicated. Like, Nyes is different because, he's a young player and you think he's going to keep growing. Yet, he's an RFA, so doesn't have a lot of leverage or power. And again, he's had a very good couple of years. Not superstar, not all-star, and he's got to play with two great players. So it is complicated, but not as much as Tavares, where I would presume John's coming to them in his rep saying, well, I'm a second-line center who scored 38, and it sounds like Tree Living could be saying, well, I actually see you as a third-line center who will not be doing that in the future. So if you want second-line money and we want to pay you third-line money, how does this work?
Right.
How's this gonna work? And someone's gonna have to blink.
So
between now and next Tuesday.
Third line money, Hayes, but he'll still be on that top power play unit. Like, he won't miss a beat. Trust me on that one.
And he probably should, though.
Yeah,
like,
you're
Marner's
right.
not
You're
leaving.
I agree.
He probably should be on.
So as a player, you're like, why the hell would I ever agree to third line money if I'm a first unit power play guy that might rip home 30?
But it comes back to what Brian and I were debating yesterday. Does he want to stay here in Toronto? Because if he does, he's got to find a common balance. Because I've got a few teams, like, I know we got to go, but what would Montreal pay for